Diana is joining.
Yeah, some of you guys, you have seen your name is not as you might expect. If you want to change your name to your actual name, you can do it by clicking on your own, I don't know how to say it, quadrant. And you have 3 dots like next to the mute button, and you can change rename. You're welcome to unmute and say hi. Victoria, I see your question. Yes, this session is going to be recorded and actually currently being live streaming in our Facebook channel, so it's going to be there as well. We're going to publish it afterward on our YouTube channel and available on our website, so we're going to make sure you get it if needed.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I suggest we give the final minute to start and then we can actually start. So 1 minute to go.
Dramatic.
Oh, cute. Welcome everyone. So let me tell you something about something that happened about 5 months before my birthday in 1986. 2 Harvard professors called Takeuchi and Nonaka published a very interesting article called The New Product Development Game. You can look for it. It's pretty much the birth of Scrum. These 2 scientists, they analyzed the modern companies back then. These are companies like 3M, Xerox, Honda, Canon. Compared to traditional organizations in that time, where one department was doing part of the job and totally in isolation, then throwing it through the fence to the other department that is doing the other part of the job, they noticed that these modern companies in 1986, they have small, self-organized and multi-skilled teams which are working end-to-end. And they describe this innovative approach as a game of rugby, where pretty much the ball is passed from one player to another through the whole pitch, through the whole game. And they call this Rugby Approach. Basically, what they found is that this is much more efficient. It fosters adaptability and innovation. So back in 1986, Nonaka and Takeuchi stated the efficiency of the Rugby Approach, later called Scrum, which, by the way, is also a term from the game of rugby. And now, 35 years later, what happens is that, for example, we go to, this is something that happens to us very often. We go to a company which claims to be agile. And looking deeper, what we see is, in many cases, something like, for example, a salesman is selling a product to a client just because of some targets by his own decision, own solution, and so on. A manager is signing the contract, focused on the bonuses, on his targets, and so on. An architect is providing the solution, proposal, and the estimates without discussing and collaborating with anyone. A release manager, in the same way, is scheduling releases, let's say once per year because it's easier. And in the middle of all that, we have a small Scrum team that is running sprints, and we call our organization Agile. But is this really the Agile company of 2021? Of course not. Of course that's not what we aim, and that's not what Takeuchi and Nonaka stated as Rugby Approach. This is just what we call water Scrum fall. So what happened? What is missing? And the missing part is this end-to-end business rugby or business agility. So let's now discuss how can we actually get this end-to-end business rugby approach.
Thank you, Nico. It was a great story. I liked it. And I actually heard it for the first time. If you don't believe me, that's the truth. Anyway, let me present ourselves first before we jump into the deep into the topic. So my name is Bugoy, and this is my brother Nikola. And we are both Agile coaches for quite a while now. We have combined over 20 years of experience working with teams. We've been in very big organizations, we've been in small ones, we've been in startups. So we've seen a lot of things from our practice. So a lot of what we're going to share today we learned by doing. So this is what we want to mention as a disclaimer. What we're going to share is going to come from the real practice, from our own experience. And we will invite your thoughts as well. So you can share your experience if you want to, and your practice with the community. This is our goal, to give knowledge to the community, to drive the Agile ways of working, the Agile culture, the Agile mindset, not just in IT business, but in all kinds of businesses. And just a short advertisement about what we do. We have established our own organization, which is called AgilePool. And we do Agile trainings. We consult people, Scrum Masters, product owners, managers, leaders. We coach organizations, and we're going to share some of these knowledge coaching organizations in the real world, not just IT, but outside IT as well. And that being said, let's jump right into the topic of today, which is the new Scrum Guide. This new Scrum Guide, as you might already know, has been released in the end of 2020, the pandemic COVID year, marked by a lot of bad things, but one good thing happened in that year, and this is the new Scrum Guide version. So for those who don't know, actually the Scrum Guide is pretty old now. So it's around 20 years old, and it is developed by two gentlemen called Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schwaber. And imagine the very first version of the Scrum Guide was 160 pages long, and it was prescribing around 7 phases to develop and implement Scrum. And over the years, it is evolving constantly. Those two gentlemen get the feedback from the community, from the practice, and they incorporate that feedback into their Scrum Guide. So they make it more simple, more and more simple, more and more easy to understand. And in the final version of it, it is the shortest version so far of the Scrum Guide. It is 13 pages. So from 160 to 13, imagine how much they have taken away. And the reason for that is because they want to make it simple and to make it broad, to be able to be used not just for IT. And as you know, maybe Scrum framework is officially designed for IT, but now in the latest version, it is outside IT. And they make it really simple, less prescriptive, adaptable to any context and any organization. And we're going to review these changes today and how they are going to reflect your ways of working. So before doing that, let me explain what you see on the slide. So in our experience, we see companies that are at a different level of maturity when they start adopting Agile and Agile mindset, Agile ways of working, and Scrum in particular as a process framework for their teams. So the first level are those organizations, we call it's our own term from AgilePool. The first level organizations are those that are just now experiencing Scrum, just now starting to try it out to see if it works for their team or teams, and they are really learning the basics. The second level of organizations are those that embraced Scrum or Scrum-like processes are in all their IT departments. So if it's an IT company, mostly all IT companies are working in some form of Scrum. Those that are we consider level 2 are that they use Scrum across all their teams in their organization. And the third level, the final one, is in our experience, the maturity companies that can and use Scrum outside of IT, not just in IT, but outside IT in different levels. And they enable real business agility to pivot, to be adaptive to the ever-changing environment. And we're going to focus today on that level. So yes, we are going to talk some about level 1 and level 2, but we're going to mainly focus on business agility. This is why we chose the title to unpack the Scrum Guide and see how it enables business agility. So it's not just about one single team or two, it's about the whole company or organization.
Actually, actually, you can find, sorry, Bogi, just one note, one sentence. You can find lots of written already about the new Scrum Guide for the team. I mean, you can see what's changed for the team. You can see many articles, but we want to really see what these folks, Mr. Sutherland and Mr. Schwaber, they find these key issues that our business can learn from. Because every version of the Scrum Guide is addressing the key problems and the key issues of the today's time. So this is what we're interested to see from business level, what we can learn from them.
Nice. And in the end of today's webinar, there is going to be a special surprise for you. So you have to wait and be patient to see what that is. So that being said, stay tuned.
Yeah,
let's
stay till the end. It's not going to be too long, just 3 hours. And you'll see the surprise afterwards.
My brother is making a joke, of course, and it's going to be only 2 hours and a half. So not worry.
Okay, going back to you.
So as you can see on the slide, we are going to start with a short question, a poll. And we are going to ask everybody to join slido.com and enter the number 600,000. So you're going to be seeing a box to type in your nickname or real name, whatever you like. And we're going to ask you one question, very simple question. So let me share my screen so you can see it as well. Do you see my screen? No, yet, not yet.
Not yet.
Now you should see it.
Yes.
Cool. So go in and you can use the QR code, of course, if you prefer to join us on mobile. And also another option for you that are on the Zoom is to join the link in the chat I just pasted. So whatever works for you. So type in your name and I'm going to start the first question. And you should see a question that is multiple choice. Let's see what is your opinion here.
Scrum is designed to what?
So there might be more than one answer. That is correct here.
Tough question, very tough.
Yeah. We have 16 people joining the poll. We're giving some time, of course, for those that are on Facebook. They see this presentation with a certain delay. So we'll allow some a minute or two for them to be able to actually join and answer the question, participate fully. Have 21 answers. We have 34 people on this chat right now in Zoom. So if you haven't entered the Slido poll, just do it. You can be anonymous, of course. And I can show the results. Are you ready? Yes?
I am ready. Go.
You're ready. Let's see what is the correct answer. Okay, and so what actually people answered that show results. So, as it turns out, all the answers are correct. So all the answers are correct here. And we see most of you believe it's for software, but not everyone knows about the other things. So Scrum is coming from software, but actually it is applicable in any domain. And it is being reported that is being successfully used in all those domains that you see on the poll. And we are going to share some of our experience in some of those domains today. Okay. So going back to the presentation, I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Going back to the presentation, what we want to give you is that this is already happening. We are not talking about something that is totally new. Actually, we have some examples. I don't know if you are that familiar with the fact that in Agile, actually the theory comes from the practice. So we first do something, then we try to prove that it works. So this is how we actually did it. And maybe you have heard about SAP Gripen. Bulgaria was about to buy some of these aircrafts. Maybe a couple of years ago, they decided to buy another one. But anyway, SAP Gripen, this is a company that is providing aircrafts, war machines, and they're doing it using Scrum. Can you imagine that this aircraft here is done via 3-week sprints? 3-week sprints where pretty much software engineers, pilots, and different people were working together in order to produce a part of the plane. And what they have actually is the most efficient and the cheapest plane from this class. And how they did it, everything is modular, for example. So you can add and replace parts from different providers. It's very agile itself, the plane, the end product. So this is something that is done via Scrum. So tell me now that if people can create airplanes, that your business is not applicable for Scrum. This is another example. It turns out that modern societies like the Scandinavian ones, they use Scrum in education. We can see how they, what is the key, let's say the key thing that we learn, we gain when we become Scrum masters in Scrum. We become self-organized, self-managed, recognizing, taking ownership, responsible, accountable. So these are all stuff that we want for our children. We want to make them work in teams, to have clear goals, to provide transparency, to cooperate. So it turns out that using Scrum at school is something very, very, very positive and very efficient. There are statistics there that shows that about 70% better grades are received with this approach compared to the older one. And let's not talk only about stuff that we don't do. Actually, we use Scrum in our trainings, in our lectures, in our workshops, but it can be used also at school with young people. But what we actually have is we have experience with Scrum in pharmaceutical organizations. So you can see here, this is our sprint goal for the first sprint that we did with such an organization that was doing nothing with software. They were their organization that is working mainly on pharmaceutical stuff and so on. Another example is this company. I won't mention names. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to or not, but this is a training for Scrum that we did with a company which is totally based on advertising, sales, and marketing. This is a big organization doing marketing and sales in the tourism area. So what you can see is that all these organizations, they are having very successful Scrum and Agile. And how they do it, that's the thing that we're going to discuss now, and how this is related with the Scrum Guide. Actually, the Scrum Guide says the following, that it's really having limitless applications. So Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schwaber stated explicitly in the new version that it has limitless applications, so it's also purposely incomplete. That means that the Scrum Guide can be combined with all kinds of other techniques, practices, approaches, processes, whatever you have. So it's something very small that gives you enough to do the Scrum theory in practice, but it's not complete, so you can combine it. It talks now from product, it's more focused on value, which brings on the table all the service companies, all the service providers. So it's not only about producing products, it's about delivering value. So we have full end-to-end business covered here. And of course, they explicitly say that it's applicable for non-IT organizations, as we showed earlier, and that you can use Scrum in bigger organizations.
Yeah, exactly. So
let's see some examples, right, Bogi?
Yeah, this is, I was going to say that let's stop being theoretical and be more practical. From our practices, we promise we're going to share. And Scrum can be applied to all kinds of teams that are delivering value, whatever the value is. It could be software, it could be hardware, it could be service, it could be anything. But also Scrum is not limited only to teams that are on the front line. It could be applied even on C-level. And actually, we're going to share experience with a company that we're coaching for a while now that called us to help with their process. They had a huge problem. Their teams, they had like 5 teams in the beginning, right, Nico? 5 teams were not delivering. They were using applying Scrum, to be honest, for like a year, but they didn't manage to deliver anything. They were struggling. There were a lot of dependencies between the teams. So we entered the organization, started to observe how they work. And what we found out is that those teams were good. The people were experienced, they were knowledgeable, they knew what they're doing, but their backlogs were mess. They were having racing priorities. They had a lot of dependencies, and we started digging. Okay, why is that? It's not on the team level, it's on the product owner level. But then we jumped to the product owner level, and we found out that the product owners were actually not really empowered to make business decisions, and they were told what the priorities are from even higher level stakeholders. And this was a startup, so higher level stakeholders were actually C-level people, board of directors. And those guys, we went to them, were marketing, were sales. They were, we had CIO, we had OC stuff, whatever you name it. And they had different priorities. They had different stakeholders they were caring about. And when we started working with them, we realized they don't align with each other. They don't know, even if they're together one C-level team, they were working in silos. They didn't know whose priorities are and why they're important. So we established a Scrum process on that level. This was a problem for the teams, right? And we wanted to align all the C-level people to pursue common objectives, common goals. And as you might already know, Scrum Guide, the new version of it, introduces something called product goal. And the product goal is dictated or actually informed by high-level people in the organization. So they had to have a common long-term strategic objective that pursue together. We established dailies with them. We started doing plannings with them. We started doing retrospectives with them, and they started aligning, which in turn produced better alignment for priorities for the teams below, which made the product backlogs more aligned with dependencies. Product owners were communicating way better with the C-level team, because now they had product owner on their team that was assigned to work closely with the product owners below them, incorporating feedback from the teams and informing the C-level team about what's happening. So they adjusted their priorities. And sorry if it was a long story, but this is exactly how we managed to embrace Scrum on the C-level that actually allowed the organizations to move forward. It was stuck.
And the feedback was really amazing. I mean, these guys, they are very senior people. This is the board of the company. But we are asking them in the beginning, okay, are you a team? I mean, oh, you're board members here. Are you a team? And different people were not really sure, are they a team? And now after a couple of months, when they have the CEO as kind of a product owner providing priority and vision and backlog, and they're doing every 2 weeks something together, meeting every day, they report how they feel different, you know. And I can give you really what we see is that on the team level, the people look different. And this is what we do with our agile transformation. Another example is how we went to an organization and we were suggesting, okay, guys, you know, you need to do agile transformation here. But they told us, you know what, don't use that word. Please don't use the word transformation. That's a dirty word in our company, because that's the 10th or 5th transformation that we do in something. And of course, we said, no problem. We're going to call it change initiative or something like that. And but when we explored a little bit, why is that dirty word? It's because in most of the cases, the transformation is announced like a big thing that is going to happen, but afterwards nothing happens. Everything stays the same because of this, because of that, because of problems. So what we do running a transformation, actually any other process that we want to do, to introduce, can be run in this way. So transformation is a process. It's not something that you do for a night. So what we told this company, okay, let's not call it transformation, let's call it change initiative. So what we did there was very simple. We got everyone together. We did some initial assessment. Where are we now? And when we defined where are we, where is the organization, we said, okay, let's define the first thing that the first image of the organization that we can achieve in 3 months. So we introduced an iteration, 3 months iteration. Then we introduced, okay, a backlog. Let's do a backlog of the change, backlog of the transformation. And we came with different ideas, things that needs to be done and improved, and we prioritized them. It was very, very simple. But the key thing was that we introduced the change in every 3 months. So we had 3 months to do the next piece of the change. We had clear goal for every iteration and clear outcome as an increment of that iteration. So you can see how this organization is getting better and better every day, every couple of months, but actually every day something happens. And you can see that now transformation is not that dirty word there. Let's give you also some examples. Let's Bogi give you some examples.
Before that, I wanted to add something here, Nico, to make it even more practical for people so they can understand what we actually did really here. We formed a team that we called it Agile Guiding Coalition Team, or something in that sense. And this team consisted, it was small, of course, I'm not sure how many, 8, 9 people. That consisted of powerful people that can make change, real change. They can make it. They were decision makers. They worked together as my brother said, in a shared backlog. They were cross-functional team, meaning they were people, representatives from different parts of the organization. Because when we talk about transformation, I would like the word evolution, not transformation, because it's never ending. Transformation implies it has some point that you say, I'm done. There is no such thing. If you believe that, stop believing that. It's evolution. So we, from this team, cross-functional team, representatives from different parts of the organization, marketing, sales, HR, whatever, they had common goals, they worked in sprints, and they had their initiatives in a backlog, they had goals, and they received feedback from the people below the organization, from everybody, not just below and above. And they incorporated this feedback into their backlog, of course. Everything they did was 100% transparent. Anybody could see at any point of time what is the current goal of the guiding coalition team, what are they doing right now, what is their success or failure. They even, we don't believe in failure, to be honest, we believe in learning. This is how we become learning organization. And they shared what they do. So they had in form of something like what we have in Scrum review to see what happened and get feedback after this. And of course, retrospective in the end. So you can see how this is applicable in that sense.
Before we go to the examples for non-IT, everyone, if you have any questions, you can use the chat, of course, but please also try using Slido. You can use, you can add questions there, which we'll answer later. Yeah,
thank you for this reminder. We're going to use Slido 2 more times in this webinar, so don't worry if you missed it. The story that we have outside IT, non-IT. So we covered C-level, we covered how to do transformation with the Scrum, but many people believe that Scrum is only for software. And we see it very often in the practice. When we talk to HR people, when we talk to marketing people, when we talk to sales, and we mention the words Agile or Scrum, they're like, oh, no, this is all IT. We don't understand IT. We have our ways of working, stuff like that. So actually, this is not true. It is absolutely perfect to use Scrum in non-IT teams. And one example I'm going to give you is I worked with a company and their HR team. So we had an HR team of 5 amazing people. They were really strong, experienced people, and they knew what they're doing, but they were super desynchronized. They were not aligned on priorities. Everybody was doing his or her stuff, but when it happened, and it happened a lot, to have some dependencies or somebody goes to a vacation and there is something that is emergent that needs to happen, they had no clue how to do it. They were lost. And I joined as their agile coach to help them to organize their work. So of course we started with a very, very, very basic Scrum. So we started with a very short backlog, like describe what you're doing right now, nothing more. Let's describe everything that you're doing right now, every single person. We formed a backlog. So let's now define objectives. Why do we exist? And it turned out they never had a conversation before why they exist as a team. What is their purpose in the organization? They had some ideas, but they were not aligned. And having this conversation really made I saw them in their eyes, that it made them click in their brain. Oh, nice, this is our purpose. Actually, they cleared some assumptions, some biases. It helped them right away to do that. And then we started scrumming, which means let's do a planning right now. Very simple planning. What we're going to do for 1 week from now, not too long, 1 week. What are the current priorities? We did a plan for the sprint. Later, of course, we introduced sprint goals, etc. But I wanted to start short, small, and let's do daily, every day for 15 minutes, just to share what we're doing. let's have a board. They did not know what a board is. Let's have a board, very simple version of board. It was a physical one, by the way, not digital. We made it digital afterwards, but keep things simple is our motto, of course, and learning by doing. So we had a very easy to carry around board. Yeah, it was carry around with sticky notes. And every day they started meeting for 15 minutes to share what they're doing. And they started aligning. They started feeling like a team. They started seeing each other's dependencies and acting upon them early, way early, preparing for them. In the end, we had a review to see what we did and a retrospective to improve the process further. And eventually, of course, during the cycles of 1 week sprints, we introduced digital boards afterwards. We introduced other ways to measure velocity, etc. Introduced feedback from stakeholders, which were the users, I mean, the employees of the organization, and a lot of stuff. And eventually, we even changed the Scrum guide. We stopped following Scrum by the rules. They said that it's better for them not to do dailies every day for 15 minutes. They decided to do dailies every other day for 30 minutes. It worked fine for them. So this is a success story that Scrum was
a little bit more to this story. We facilitated the first couple of meetings for that team. At some point, a lady came and said, "Okay, you know what? Let me be the Scrum Master." So we started working with that lady, so she became a real Scrum Master. We encouraged the manager of the team, because he was assigning tasks before that, to become a real product owner, where he's providing the priorities. And you can see how I can give you really for weeks, this bunch of individuals become a team. They started working as a real team. So this is super important for all kinds of departments like HR, sales, whatever. They're very good at their job, but in many cases, they're working as a bunch of individuals. And Scrum is what can make them a team. It's the mechanism that can help them become a team. And let's go to the next poll.
Of course, you know the drill. If you remember actually, you should not close the link. We have 2 more questions. This is the second one, and we're going to have a third one. I'm going to take over the presentation from Unikova. So use the link in the chat, or use your browser to type in slido.com and the number 600,000, or you can use QR code if you're on mobile. I'm going to start the poll, so you can start filling your answers. The question is, the Scrum's purpose is to, and this requires only one answer, only one correct answer here. Wow, big engagement. I see votes floating super fast like this. And again, we're going to allow maybe a minute for people on Facebook.
They are about 20 seconds behind, so no worry.
Okay. Yeah, it's always different, right? We don't know how much. So let's. I'm sharing my screen, right?
You are.
It doesn't show me. The other day I was doing a training and I was talking like 10 minutes straight. And I was thinking that I'm sharing my screen, and people told me, "Are you sharing something?" I was like 7 slides ahead. Anyway, so we have 23 votes. Come on, guys. You can do it. Be brave. Join the quiz.
To wake your fingers up, because if we were doing physical this webinar as a session, we're going to usually going to make you stand up, do some exercises. Here, the only thing that we can make you do is move your fingers to keep you awake. So now it's your time.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you like 10 seconds more and then closing the poll.
10, 9, 8.
And okay, showing you the results. Let's see what you guys think. Wow, most of you, 80% believe that Scrum's purpose is to achieve goals and create value. Are you sure? Really? Some of you believe that its purpose is to manage teams effectively. Like, I'm a people manager, I'm going to manage them through Scrum. We'll see about this. And increase teams velocity. Actually, I'm surprised only 4% answered increasing teams velocity. Actually, in our experience, when somebody asks us to help their teams, their first demand is, please help this team to increase their velocity, increase the velocity of the team. But what is the correct answer here? Of course, as the majority of you said, to achieve goals and create value. What is the value depends on your organization. So this is the correct answer. Once again, in Slido, there is a Q&A section. So if you want to ask questions, we're going to address them in the end.
Yeah, so let's see why.
Казахте, че ням... добре.
Да мютна ли всички или?
Аз претенции нямам.
Окей, го.
Сега ще мютна хората да не стават такива фалове. Bogi, you can unmute yourself. Okay.
Cool.
So, why we are asking about value and purpose and this kind of things? Usually, what we do when we enter a new organization is that we go around and we ask the folks. I'm going usually to the coffee machine, the kitchen, finding someone and asking him, hey, dude, how are you? What's going on? What are you doing this sprint? Usually, let's say that they are doing Scrum and so. And this guy is telling me, this sprint, we're working on something undefined. He cannot really explain to a random person what the team is doing, what his team and he as part of the team are doing in the next 5 days. It's really surprising. In most cases, I'm asking them, okay, why do you have this sprint? And usually the answer is because we need to deliver 5 stories or 5 items. But how can 5 items be a goal? I mean, what if these 5 items are total junk and nobody really wants to use them? If imagine that we do some product stuff. What if we deliver 5 items that nobody wants to use? Is this a success? Of course not. And in order to be successful, we need to incorporate everyone in the organization to really understand the end goal, to think, to put yourself in the shoes of the customer. This customer centricity and blah, blah, blah things are happening exactly that way when you have really clear understanding what you do this sprint. And the biggest problem that we're addressing with this lean topic, which is officially introduced in the Scrum Guide, is that we not only need to know what we're doing, but we need to understand that doing 5 things in the same time, it's a pure waste. And here we go to the business level. We go to business people and ask them, okay, guys, why you have given these teams to do this stuff in this sprint? And usually the answer is because that's the priorities. But when we get deeper, we see that there is one story or one item from one product, another story from another product, and a third story from a third product. And we ask them, okay, what do you get at the end of the sprint? And the answer is stories. But if you make a step back and you take a look, you just see that you have just done 1% of every product. And at the end, you have 99 unfinished products. And what we want to have is lean here to make it clear that the team, the organization should work at one thing at a time. It's not that you have a backlog full of all kinds of things. We need to work at one thing at a time. That's why we need to have a clear goal for the sprint, but it should go from a bigger goal. Usually, to make it more practical, we can think of different products or different features or different epics that needs to be prioritized. And every sprint, what we encourage our people is to work on a single feature or a single epic. So deliver something for that epic, and next sprint focus on the next important feature. I'm using feature and epic replaceable. In many cases, it's the same thing. So let's take something, let's work a couple of sprints or something so we can provide value. Because another issue that we see is companies doing Scrum, but releasing once per year. And this is exactly because of that thing that they're working on 5 things at a time. So in the same way that we don't want a software engineer to work to code on 5 stories in parallel, we actually don't want a software team to work on 5 totally different unrelated items in parallel. So let's not make multitasking on a higher level. And let me show you, I need to share the sound for that, how this sometimes look like.
I run and I run and I run and I run and I get out and I've gone nowhere. Nowhere!
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, most of the teams that we initially start working with are describing exactly this situation, and maybe it's familiar to you too. So actually, it's not just about software; it's about any kind of team. One of the biggest issues that Scrum explicitly solves or aims to solve in the final version of the Scrum Guide, the latest one. It was always there, but not so well described. Now they describe it very well, is by introducing the product goal. Yes, we can have Scrum, and actually having Scrum on a team level, any kind of team, is super easy to do. Scrum is essentially the easiest thing to fake in the world. You can establish 2-week cadence for any team, establish them 4-hour planning, 15-minute daily stand-ups, review retrospective, and say, okay, go now, and you can think of, yeah, now we have Scrum. But actually what happens is what my brother described. We have a team that has a backlog that is prioritized like a mess, and they deliver nothing of value in the end. So how this is being solved? By introducing the product goal, which is like a bit long-term vision here. So here, by the way, the word product vision should say product goal. This is a new element in the Scrum Guide, and they describe it like something similar to vision, but less long-term. Like it is maybe it's 1 month period, maybe it's 6-month period, maybe it's 1 year. It is more strategic. It is something that the team is pursuing for a longer term, for long-term period. We've seen this in many teams complaining that they don't know what they're going to do after this sprint. They're only tunnel visioned only on the current sprint. Yes, they have sprint goal. What is your next sprint goal? They have no clue. Or even if they know, they don't know the after or the bigger picture. So this is super important to have a product goal for the team, whatever the team is, software or non-software, and each sprint has a sprint goal. This is not new. This is old concept. But when you align all these goals, this is how you build your product roadmap or service roadmap. Outline the anticipated path of goals that you're going to pursue, and that is expected to lead you to the bigger picture. And of course, after every sprint, you are going to refine this inspection and adaptation. So you're going to inspect and adapt your anticipated goals. But this requires a bit long-term vision, long-term planning, and this is done by the whole team, the whole Scrum team. What we see now is that this is aligned perfectly with the concept of OKRs. So we are preaching OKRs for to use them on individual level, on team level, and organizational level, of course. And you can use OKRs to define your product goal and also your sprint goals. For those who don't know, OKR is objective and key results. We're not going to jump deep dive into that topic, but you can find information on our slide and our
Give an example, Bogi, just to
Yeah.
give the example to make it a little bit more clear. With this company that we do the C-level Scrum, what we do with them as well as another practice is every quarter we had the so-called product envisioning workshop. This is a product meeting where developers, architects, key stakeholders, key team members are brainstorming together what we're going to do in the next 2-3 months and defining the clear goal for the next 3 months, which is becoming the product goal. And this product goal is the North Star for every team in the next quarter. In the same way, you can do it quarterly, 2 months, on a 2-month basis, doesn't matter, but we use OKR to say, okay, what's the objective? What's the key result that we expect? And we iterate on that through the whole quarter, and we're coming back and reflecting on this goal. And this happens every sprint, on every planning. We reflect on, every team is reflecting on how the thing that we do is actually is contributing to the product goal. And on the other way around, when every sprint finishes, we check the results and see, okay, where are we? And how close we are to the goal. And goal after goal after goal, actually, we achieve this lean and goal-driven, value-driven approach. But in order to do this, something else that was introduced in the new Scrum Guide is the famous Start with Why by Simon Sinek. So it's officially introduced as different practices in the new Scrum Guide, that it's super crucial when, for example, a team starts a sprint to get the sprint goal that is provided by the product owner and to ask. So this is the first step in the sprint planning, to the team to ask, okay, why this goal is contributing to the product goal? Because I can tell you for sure that in most cases, when I ask a product owner, what's the product goal? He explains the product goal. And I'm usually asking him, okay, why we need this product goal? What will happen if we don't do it? What will happen if we release something else, if we work on something else? And usually they cannot give me a right answer. They usually answering stuff that was requested by some guy or some client, but actually why we do it, it's not so clear. And that's why we work with Scrum Masters and product owners to make it sure that they start with the why every sprint planning. Every this quarter workshop, we facilitate the product owner to provide benefit statement, benefit hypothesis. You can find different templates for benefit hypothesis, but the product owner, we are guiding him or her to provide benefit hypothesis, so everyone in this big quarter workshop can really understand what are we benefiting, what we want to benefit.
Practical thing to remember, note down, write down is start your planning with the question, why is this sprint important?
Yeah,
that's it. Just start with that question. And when we talk about sprints, of course, one of the changes in the latest Scrum Guide is that the sprint itself is no longer just time box. Now the sprint itself is an event. It's a huge difference. Why? Because the event has a specific purpose. And what is the sprint's purpose? To achieve the goal of the sprint and contribute to the product goal itself. So now every single sprint is an event in the entire organization. I've seen higher level management, middle level management that don't really care about what the teams are doing. And they don't know whether they're doing sprints, what they're committed to. This is a huge gap that needs to be addressed. When you start seeing sprints as events, this is important thing that happens in the organization. This is not just random thing. Also, we've seen it in our practice. If the sprint is not seen as an event, what happens when when the Scrum team cannot meet its commitment, cannot do all the work in the sprint? Well, they say, let's extend the sprint by 1 day, by 2 days, so we can finish it and call it a success. That completely destroys the whole idea of sprinting. So this should be made clear, and it might sound like a simple change of words, but it is very powerful. It opens a lot of doors for improvement and for inspection and adaptation afterwards. So what is also changed in the new Scrum Guide is that refinement, as you know, some people call it grooming, which is not a preferred word because it means bad stuff. Don't use grooming, use the word refinement, is no longer prescribed. So in the previous version, they say during the sprint, the Scrum team is doing around 10% capacity on refinement activities. And they saw this as flawed, as too much prescription. They say now that the Scrum team is doing during the sprint as much refinement is needed the way they want to do it. It doesn't matter. It should not be just, it can be meeting, but it could be anything else that you can think of. Any activity that is related to preparing for the next iteration, prepare the backlog to clear details. Maybe it's business details, maybe it's technical details, maybe it's dependencies, whatever it is. This is called refinement activities, and you do them during the sprint as much as needed. Anything that I missed, Nicola, here?
No, the only thing that I would say from practical perspective is understand the power of the sprint. It's an event, it has a purpose. So forget about stuff like let's extend the sprint because we have a couple of more stories to do. No, if you're not sprinting, if you're violating the sprint, you're not really understanding what are you learning, what are you achieving, how fast you're growing. And in the same way, what else is introduced is commitments. So I'll give you the next 2 slides together. So we have 2 things, commitments and one team. What does it mean is that now the new Scrum Guide says that we should be focusing again on one thing at a time, but every artifact, I mean, the product goal, the sprint goal, and the definition of done, sorry, these are the commitments. The product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the increment, they have commitments. And these commitments mean that they have higher purpose. They have thing that then needs to be achieved. And we need one team, not teams inside the team. So forget about stuff like we are stakeholders, you're the team. Or I usually hear things like teams inside the team. They say in this Scrum Guide, Jeff and Ken, they say, you know what, forget about these sub teams and people around the team that are like not taking part. Everyone should be part of the team. Everyone should understand the purpose and the commitment of all the artifacts. That means that every stakeholder needs to understand the product goal and why the product backlog looks like that, the sprint goal and why the sprint of every team looks like that, and the definition of done. This is the commitment that we do about the quality. So what we do with our teams and the organizations that we are working usually is that we make sure that every sprint commitment is shared with across the whole organization. It's a very small change to send an email with the sprint commitment, but many organizations don't do it. Just share it. Make a special session where you get the stakeholders and explain them, this is the sprint commitment of our team. You can have multiple teams presenting their sprint commitments. It's the same thing when the product vision and the product goals are communicated and so on. So have all this together. So only one team and commitments should be shared and understood by everyone.
Just to jump in with a small comment, we have this problem a lot. Managers of departments, they want to enable their teams to become better and more efficient, and they say go apply Scrum, do it as you wish, I don't care. Have you been in that situation? I've been there like a lot, like every single time. They tell me, go work with that team and don't bother me more. I have another things to do. No, man. Oh, actually, this is not going to work. Why? Because you need manager, leader, whatever. You need to be involved, and your involvement requires commitment to enable the team. So definition of done, for example, my brother mentioned it. This is how quality is being built into the service, into the value, into the product that we're delivering. And stakeholders, all of them, are committed to that definition of done, because their requests, their demands, their interference in the team can and is damaging the quality, because the teams sometimes are pressured because of the higher level boss who is deciding salaries and bonuses. They say, okay, I'm going to do it as you wish. And this is going to, of course, damage the quality. So,
and actually, it's very easy. Just when you create a definition of done, ask every stakeholder to approve it, to take a look and to say, yes, I understand it. That's very simple, but almost no one I have seen to do it.
Yeah, something that we should mention, of course, because this is super important, and I see Florin Manolescu, sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, is that in the new Scrum Guide on the team level, they removed the notion of development team. There is no such thing anymore. We have only one team, Scrum team, and we're going to cover this in a bit, but this is the idea, that we should not separate ourselves anymore, and we are all in this together. We are all here to deliver value as best as we can. This is the mentality on the business. Remember, this is about the business agility. On the team level, it is the same, but also we are speaking now from the business perspective. To be real, to achieve real business agility, you need to embrace on the company level, we're one team. We have common goals. We collaborate together. Okay. Moving to the next final quiz, final poll. You know the drill now. Join the same link. And final question to you guys. And let's be quick. We are now on top of the hour as we started this presentation. So don't worry, we're going to close soon with questions on your part, which I don't see in the Q&A session. Here above, or actually it's on my screen above, but when I close the poll, you're going to be able to ask questions here, so do it. The question is, the Scrum Master is, what is a Scrum Master? Not important, just facilitator, a true leader that serves the team, team secretary, team's manager. 16 people have answered. We have 32 in the chat. A lot more on Facebook. Let's see. Only one answer. What the Scrum Master has to do with business agility, you might ask. Stay tuned. I'm going to show the results so we don't spend too much time. 22 people answered the question. And as you can see, most of you said that the Scrum Master is a true leader that serves the team. Unfortunately, I have not seen it too much in the practice. I don't see many teams having Scrum Masters at all. And I don't see the Scrum Master to be a true leader.
Is this the true answer?
I don't know. I'm going to show it. Don't worry. I'm just saying. Of course, the correct answer is that the Scrum Master should be a true leader that serves the team. And the previous version of the Scrum Guide, the Scrum Master was called servant leader, which I agree, it's a super nice definition, but many people misunderstand it they see the word servant before the word leader, and this is making confusion. The Scrum Master is a true leader, and they emphasize a lot and they stress a lot in the new Scrum Guide that in order to have successful Scrum implementation and process, you need Scrum Masters, and those Scrum Masters are leaders, real leaders. Yeah, Nicole, I can turn it to you now.
Yeah, so before we continue and finish actually with the Scrum Master, we want to tell you that in the new Scrum Guide, the word role is now replaced by the word accountability. So we don't have the three roles, product owner, Scrum Master, and dev team. We have the three accountabilities, product owners, Scrum Masters, and developers. We said there is no team in the team, they are now developers. So, but why, you ask the question, why it's so, I don't know, it looks like a little bit redundant, or why they changed from role to accountability. One of the problems that they're addressing is the following. I'm going often to different organizations and talking to someone, asking him, why don't you do this, for example? There is something that is needed and the person can do it. And I'm asking, why don't you help to that person to do those things? And usually what I got as an answer is, because that's the job of the product owner, or because that's not my job. And we're starting throwing to each other different job descriptions. Say they want to say, there is no such thing as job description and a role as kind of related to your job description. There are different accountabilities. There are certain people that are accountable for the product owner stuff. It's one person that is accountable for the product owner thing, one person accountable for the Scrum Master things, and a bunch of people accountable for the developer stuff. But actually, responsibility is shared. And when someone needs to help someone, they just need to do it because they are a team. And we don't care what's the job title of anyone. And this is usually what we do. And how we do it, one example of a little bit practical thing, we break down all the accountabilities in the first workshops where we are building the team. We are asking them to imagine that they have three buckets: the product owner bucket, the Scrum Master bucket, and the developers bucket. So they need to do this exercise to arrange all the accountabilities in the three buckets. And then we really understand who is accountable for what, but also that everyone is responsible for their actions to help on the accountable person. And here we go with the maybe most emphasized accountability in the new Scrum Guide, the Scrum Master. As we saw in the questionnaire, in many cases, the Scrum Master is misunderstood as secretary of the team. Tell me, I'm pretty sure that if you think of it, you see many people in your organizations that are developers / Scrum Master, QA / Scrum Master, whatever / Scrum Master. In the new Scrum Guide, they say that this person is not just a secretary, it's a true leader that is leading by serving, but he or she has clear accountability to make the whole organization efficient and working. And he's the one accountable that the team is efficient and successful. What does it mean? How come that the Scrum Master is accountable for the team success? Let me tell you how it looks like. If a team is not meeting a sprint goal for one sprint, the developers usually and the team, depending on the different situations, they are accountable on what happens. Pretty much the developers are accountable for the delivery. But if you have a team that is constantly not delivering, that means that you need to hold the Scrum Master accountable. So you need a strong person there, and that's not a manager. Don't take it to that direction. That's a servant leader, but it's actually a leader who serves. So you need Scrum Masters. I gave you the example with the lady Scrum Master from the HR team and so on. You need Scrum Masters on all the teams that you're doing Scrum, because these are the people that can make your team efficient because they really know that they're accountable for that.
And their opinion is valued. Their guidance is followed and respected by the organization and the team itself. I've seen it many teams. Their Scrum Master is suggesting a good idea, and the team says, "No, we're not like it. We're not going to do it. Peace off, peace off." No, man, this is not how you should do it. The leader is there to lead and to guide. So no, that's not acceptable at all. And the business here should act upon. The business here need to empower the Scrum Master, the managers, the leaders. They need to show everyone that Scrum Masters are valued and respected. I've seen it many times from leaders and managers' point of view. This is the same. They neglect Scrum Master's opinion. They don't listen to what they say and do the same things again and again. I want to mention one note, Nico.
Go.
About the change in the Scrum Guide. Development team is now replaced with the word developers. So there is no team inside the team. And we want to emphasize on the notion of the word developer. It's coming from the software industry, the developer. The gentlemen Scrum guys, Jeff Sutherland and Schwaber, they say developer means somebody who develops anything that is developed, service, value, marketing, product, and so on and so on. We believe they should change that in the next version, if possible, to something less software related, so it's not confusing. So if you are confused, stop being confused right now. Developer, we would propose the word creative delivery person, not developer, but creative delivery person. Whatever is being delivered, software, hardware, medical stuff, anything. So this is the only flaw that in my, and I think my brother's opinion, is not so good written in the Scrum Guide, but the other stuff are awesome.
Yeah, and if you want to learn more, you can be more than welcome to our today course. As you see, we jump to the advertising part. The surprise is coming in a second. But yeah, this was in general what we wanted to share with you. And before we close up with some wrap up and summary of what we discussed, we want to give you a note that if you want to learn more about Scrum, the Scrum Guide, and much more details, we have the next Advanced Scrum Kanban Practitioner training starting on 13th of May. So you still have time.
Yeah, and we have a lot to share, as you can see. We plan to be finishing this webinar for 1 hour, but now we are 1 hour and 15 minutes on top. We are going to share a lot of practical stuff on that course, deep practicals, not so theoretical. Now the surprise, what is the surprise? If you're struggling right now with Scrum, within your team, within your organization, and you want some guidance, we are currently offering you free coaching session with us. You can open our website, AgilePool.com, and you're going to see a section. Nico, you can show it if you want. But anyway, you're going to see it on the homepage to book a free session with us. Just use the promo code April webinar. That is going to be valid till April 30th. Afterwards, you have to pay us, of course. So if you want some guidance, free coaching session, go there, request one, and we're going to be more than happy to talk to you in person, one-to-one. That being said,
here is the section. Book a section, AgilePool.com, and you can book a section.
You have dropped down. The third option is coaching session. Yeah.
Okay, going back to the slides.
Let's wrap up for today's webinar with some questions.
Before wrap up, so we'll have 10 minutes for questions, and then we'll close with a short summary. So let's see how many questions we have in Slido.
On the Slido, we don't have any questions. So if you have
check the chat then.
Neither in the chat. We can ask people to unmute if you want. Let's be connected face to face. You can open, ask. Feedback, maybe you want to give us anything.
I see one question in the chat. It is by Stanislava. It's in Bulgarian, so I translate it. Do you consider a Kanban guide session that's a very good idea to have a Kanban guide session, even though that there isn't official guide. There is a book by David Anderson regarding Kanban, but we can have a session about Kanban for sure.
Is it a private message to you? Because I don't see it anyway.
Maybe it's private message. I don't know. So, guys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, are there any questions? Anything that
I see Julia is open. Let's see. Go, Julia. Nice to see you.
Hi, nice to see you too. I don't have any questions, but it's been a good show.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any thoughts? Any thoughts on the session, Julia? Since you
Any thoughts? No, just that it's been a very good session. You've had real examples, and the two of you do a good dialogue together. I work as a Scrum Master myself right now, and it was relevant and good information.
Okay, were there some aha moments?
I'm in Sweden. I'm in Sweden. Yeah.
Nice.
So I knew about the airplane.
Oh,
great. So
where are you guys at?
We're in Bulgaria. Oh my God, we
Bulgaria.
didn't mention. Damn.
Oh, well, I came in a little bit late. I just found out about it. Yeah.
Anyway,
So-
we are from Bulgaria.
Yeah, and we were almost about to buy the airplanes from you, but
You were gonna buy them
anyway.
yourselves?
Not really, but yeah. Anyway,
How long have you guys been working as Scrum Masters or Agile coaches?
More than
about
7 years.
7 years,
Wow,
maybe.
good.
We have Florian from Romania who is being very active, by the way, on the chat. So we need to send kudos to him as well. Thank you.
And he's actually sharing that there is a Kanban guide, so I was wrong. I'm not sure that it's by David Anderson, but anyway, there is something called Kanban guide. I haven't read it.
On the scrum.org, they have also something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a new thing, this Kanban guide, and great work, guys. Really nice session today.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you very much for the feedback.
So it looks like we don't have much questions. Maybe it's late.
But we have 29 people on the call that are constantly here. So maybe you have something to share. We see Diana, by the way. So Didi, you can, sorry to put you on the spot, but since you were part of one of the stories that we said, you can actually validate or discard what we said.
Yes, I was going to unmute myself anyway, and just to congratulate you for this great session this evening, as usual, very inspiring and in the same time very informative and also very amusing, so to say. And thank you very much. I realized that one of the examples is with our case, and to tell you the truth, I'm very proud, and I'm very happy that I have both of you as trainers for my team. By the way, you have other admirers in our company, and one of them, for instance, is participating in the session, and I see that she's asking a question in the chat.
Okay, let's see the question.
It's in the chat by Dima Jenkova.
Do you observe any difference between Bulgarians and other citizens in Scrum staff? Can you elaborate? Sorry, Dima. Can you be more specific?
Yes, thank you for the session. What I wanted really to ask you is, because you shared great examples and you shared the initial skepticism of the participants, and I was wondering, is this something that you observe mainly in Bulgarian companies, or it is something that is faced everywhere around the world, the initial skepticism? What are your observations?
I can try to answer. So first thing is that we work with all kinds of organizations. Of course, that in many cases, we work with Bulgarian departments and so on, but in most cases, we work for organizations that are not originally Bulgarian. What is important to know is that, of course, every region, every company, every person, every country has some specifics in the culture, in the mindset, in the legacy, in traditions. But in general, I can say that I'm not sure. Are you familiar with crossing the chasm? Let me show just a small picture here.
Before you show it, I can be more concise with my answer.
Yeah, go on.
My answer is no matter. Any person, doesn't matter whether it's Bulgarian or not. It is old school management versus new ideas. This is what it is.
Yeah,
and
Okay.
it is applicable to any
everywhere.
context, everywhere. And I see a foreign nodding here, so he is not Bulgarian, so he can.
Yeah, even if we are neighbors here from Balkans, also Julia is from Sweden, other culture, and I also worked with clients from Australia to United States and Germany and Mauritius and Portugal, so different cultures. So everyone encountered the same issues. Basically, it's about changing a mindset of how we are working from a fixed mindset to a growth one. And yeah, this picture is really nice. There are so many articles regarding the zombie Scrum.
Mm-hmm.
Scrum, which is not understood, let's say. And I searched a lot about this topic, and I saw that it's like COVID, a pandemic. Everyone in the world, all the Scrum teams, majority of the Scrum teams are facing the same issues, basically. So it's everywhere.
Yeah, totally correct. And what just to explain the picture here, this is a very famous notion that pretty much if you take a random subset of the population, you have about 16% laggards. So these are people that you cannot really work with. I mean, these are people that are not going to take your idea, doesn't matter what you are going to offer them. Usually you can change them just in the way they will change only if they don't have any other option. This is like my grandfather who was not about to start using mobile phone if he didn't have this option, another option, like just
they stopped selling those phones anymore.
They stopped selling the regular phones, right, and so on. But what you need to know is that there are also other part of the population that are innovators, early adopters. These are people that can be your allies and work with you to help you with the change. And you need to target. So these guys, you need to empathize, but ignore them. So we need to focus on the early majority and on the late majority, because that's the thing here with this chasm, that you need to cross it. And if you convince the early majority and the late majority to try your stuff, so if you work close enough and hard enough, it's going to be the change is going to happen. So another just small bracket here is that this is really a normal distribution of the population. But in some companies, in some organizations, actually you can see something like more people of one of the sides than the other. This is because of the hiring process and so on. Sometimes that's why we encourage to have Scrum and not only Scrum, but actually Agile mindset in the hiring, in the HR, because we don't, what we see sometimes is companies hiring
same profiles, same people, yeah.
Similar people, similar profiles. So if you have, let's say, for some reason, more laggards, they'll hire more laggards. We don't want this. We want actually, in order to have a healthy company, you need to have from all of these, but you need to make sure that you have really from all of this, not just from one part of the stuff. And that's one place that you need to work from Agile perspective with the HR, to make them hire people with different personalities.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to share values, but to have different personalities. It's an interesting controversy.
This might be actually a topic for another seminar and webinar. Bringing back to the business agility, if you're just starting or in the process to start it, our usual goal first is to find the early adopters and include them. They are going to guide the transformation and the change in the organization. Cool. Since I don't see
We have
any...
something in the chat or don't have?
No, I don't see.
Thanks a lot. Okay, nice one. So to close, before we close, you can contact us. You can find us in LinkedIn and Facebook. You can join our Facebook group where we are discussing different topics like the previous ones, and things get interesting.
The recording of this webinar is of course going to be available in YouTube on our channel, and also we're going to post in our Facebook page. So join us there. We are going to enjoy your company. As you can see, we love what we are doing, and we do it because we like to be part of the community and to exchange ideas. So we are sure you have also very good experience and practice that you can share with everybody. So come with us, and let's continue connecting. What should we keep in mind?
Maybe you're wondering why are we finishing with some, let's say, funny fish here. Actually, I'm pretty sure that you have heard this sentence that the big fish eats the small fish. That's not true for many years. And actually, what I started with, the story from my birthday year with Nonaka and Takeuchi, that they actually found that there are companies that are fast and so on. And actually, the other example are organizations that were dominant and now they don't exist, or they are much below the line, like Nokia, like Kodak. We don't want to be like them. And this is one of the, let's say, the examples of why it's not true that the big fish eats the small fish. Actually, the faster fish eats the slow one. The adaptive fish is eating the one that is stuck. This is the key thing here, that the lean one, the one that is doing only exactly what is needed and nothing more, is eating the fish that is fat, that is doing lots of unneeded things. The business agility is the thing that eats the water Scrum flow, and that's why there are companies that are successing and companies that are not. So be smart and be the smarter fish. That's the end thing here. Thank you.
And the Scrum Guide 2020 is a great tool that you can use to achieve exactly this business agility. It's not enough though, it needs mindset, but it's a great tool to use. Okay, well, if that's everything from you, you don't have any questions, that is everything that we have prepared today. See you on our next webinar and on our pages, and let's keep in touch.
Thank you all. Have a good evening, everyone. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.